Hey guys, Aussie Poker here, and in this video I'm going to share with you the three main ways in which I study poker. This doesn't include things such as playing, of course, getting a lot of practice and volume in is very important, both for improving your game, but also for, reaching the long term, because variance is a very big thing in this game, especially in the tournaments I tend to play way more than the cash games. But in terms of what are the three things I think are the three best ways to study poker, the first one, and this relates a lot to the playing actually, is actually reviewing your hands. I find this to be a very important practice because that allows you to find where your leaks are. Because if you're not aware of your weaknesses, you're not going to be able to plug them. And that can just cost you so much money over time as well when you are not, fixing your weaknesses and improving your player continually as such. And that's a very important thing. And I think also when you are reviewing your hands, I think it's good to not get too focused on doing it one way or the other. What I mean by that is that there are kind of two main ways you can review a hand. One is just to kind of play through the hand in, say, Poker Tracker, or if you use instead Hold a Manager, just kind of play through and think about the hand again, and, check it, you're making the correct, let's say, assumptions or conclusions in the hand. And then also the other way is to kind of check it, with the GTO Wizard or some other poker solver, which is obviously something I should do a lot more, in fact, to just upload my hands there, and just sort of go through them. That's probably something would help me quite a lot, in fact. But yeah, I think it's important, not to get too hung up on the practical side or the theoretical. Maybe, for example, the play you played might have been theoretically wrong, but you'd been, watching this guy play for 6 hours and you realize that you could, make a sort of a play in that spot to exploit his weakness and successfully did so. So again, I think it's important, not to be too, focused on either, the result of how the hand went or, what the solver says, or feeling you have to justify your play every single time, to give money, maybe, you made an assumption it might not be correct at the time. In any case, the second way I think is really good for improving your poker is indeed to work with the solvers. Which is kind of funny because I just talk about the solvers with reviewing the hand history, but the way I really like to work with the solvers is actually doing it with a very active learning kind of style. What I mean by that is using the puzzle feature, doing the puzzles and actually trying to make the decisions yourself. I find it makes it much easier to remember the situations and remember to draw the right conclusions just by the volume of just drilling those patterns. But I do think it is important though, not just to solve the puzzle, but to actually look back and see, okay, why is it doing what's it doing in this spot? And of course, yeah, definitely, it makes sense, at a especially more advanced level to, go deeper and see, not just how that one hand plays spot, but how does your whole range play in that spot, which does take a lot longer, but does give you a much deeper understanding of the game. But if you do want that very quick feedback of, okay, this is what I should have done differently, this is what I did well, then, I find that the GTO Wizard solving the puzzles does work very well for that. Previously, I used to use an app called Postflop Plus, which I actually still use because GTO Wizard doesn't really have an equivalent applet, say, for, on the mobile for doing it. Otherwise, I just use that instead, but when I'm out walking about or traveling to a tournament, yeah, I might do a bit of Postflop Plus, which is similar in nature, another solver giving puzzles, but that's the only real feature in a sense. And not true, it's not the only feature, but it's the main one I use. Let's put it like this, the training feature. But yeah, that's quite where I find solving the puzzles, just as it works so well for chess for training your tactical vision, with the solving a lot of poker puzzles gives you that volume and it gives you that vision. For recognizing different spots, what to do in different situations with different hands, what ranges your opponent's going to have in different situations. And it's actually probably one reason why I don't actually study pre-flop ranges much anymore, is because I find I get a lot of practice in them just by seeing what kind of hands are coming up in different situations with the, with the GTO Wizard training. You get to see what hands they have and see the ranges that way. So you kind of get that practice in sort of almost by coincidence, if you like. But anyway, the third thing I find that really helps as well for, the sort of training, for studying poker, is sort of go through different training videos by different coaches, because it gives you a different perspective of poker when you really understand from a practical point of view. And I think one of the most powerful things that the coaches can give beyond the, a greater awareness of your own game is also a greater awareness of what some of the weaknesses of the players your player pool are making. Because getting that understanding can just give you such a massive advantage, to have that second point of view of, okay, this is what your opponents are going to generally be doing wrong, or this what this specific pool of players, if you like, is sort of generally doing wrong. So that's something like very powerful, like just allows you to go right in a tournament playing exploitatively rather than having to, start from some flawed foundation and then, adjust, as you see the people play. Like, of course, still do that, but it gives you like a point where you can really start exploiting from the very first hand if you know, like 80% or more of those players are going to play a certain sort of way or have certain weaknesses, let's say. And of course, yeah, there are always other ways you can learn. Like, one thing I will say is that I think that while watching tournament streams can be good for your game, I don't really count it as like really serious study. I count it more as like sort of a downtime to watch a tournament stream. I don't really watch Twitch streams in general, but that would be a similar category. However, if you are like, doing it actively, like let's say if you are trying to, think, okay, what would I do in this situation if I was in their shoes and I didn't know what the other person had, I think that's something that can really be quite powerful to do. Like, especially if you then review the most interesting spots with the solver to compare the solver play with all the different hands with how, those pros played it. I think that's something that can definitely be quite powerful. But yeah, I do consider like the tournament streams more as a downtime, like just to relax and unwind. Something that may still improve my game a little bit, but not as much as, say, the other three methods I mentioned on average. Because, like, we all know the guys, who watch a lot of tournament poker, but still, go to the department, like, limp every, 2 and 3 hands and, try to do some crazy play post-flop because they saw the pro do it in some situation. It just, like, doesn't make any sense in the situation they do it in. So, yeah, that's sort of why I don't really count as a serious study. But if you enjoyed, yeah, by all means, watch it as if you were watching, like, you can watch, like, if you're watching football or tennis or some other sport, but, yeah, you're not going to improve unless you really actively engage with it. And then it would come probably more under the category of puzzles, let's say, when you do it that way. But yeah, I hope you found this video insightful. Do leave a like if you enjoyed it. Also, consider subscribing. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.